I'm not telling you this to scare you, merely to inform you. There is a reason we fear the dark. Let me show you. Nyarlathotep is an entity from the writings of H.P. Lovecraft. As there are many imitators, fans, and expansions to the Cthulhu mythos, we will be staying with the source material for the sake of brevity, and not the dozens of other authors that have borrowed this creature for their own works. Nyarlathotep appears in 4 stories, 2 sonnets, and has a handful of additional mentions in Lovecraft's writing. Although many artists like to portray the creature as an insanity-inducing tentacle monster, this is simply not the case, and not Lovecraft's explicit style. In The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, he appears as a man who resembles a pharaoh. In The Dreams of the Witch House, an avatar of him is conjured up, appearing to be a dark-skinned devil of little description. In The Rats in the Walls, Nyarlathotep is described as a howling devil at the center of the earth. Also, in The Haunter in the Dark, another of his manifestations appears as a nocturnal, tentacled, bat-winged monster that has taken up residence in a church steeple. The story that shares his name describes him as a tall, swarthy, and sinister man. It also says he was of the old native blood and looked like a pharaoh. This is the most explicit description of Nyarlathotep we ever get, and it isn't much to go on. As this story is barely 3 pages long, it gives us the briefest of glimpses into his motivations and agenda. In a letter to one of his colleagues, Lovecraft described the dream he had which inspired the character. I had never heard the name Nyarlathotep before, but seemed to understand the allusion. Nyarlathotep was a kind of showman or lecturer who held forth in public halls and aroused widespread fear and discussion with his exhibitions. These exhibitions consisted of 2 parts. First, a horrible, possibly prophetic, cinema reel, and later some extraordinary experiments with scientific and electrical apparatus. Nyarlathotep is described as making great demonstrations of science, magic, and prophecy in front of huge crowds of people, gathering legions of followers and giving orders to all of them. What those orders are, no man could recall once he'd left the monster's presence. My research has led me to believe that Nyarlathotep represents the terrible truths of too much knowledge and understanding the true nature of the universe. Science, if sufficiently advanced enough from the norm, is indistinguishable from magic and becomes fear-inducing. Nyarlathotep comes out of Egypt to force knowledge and terrible prophecies onto the populace, spreading fear and panic everywhere he goes with his exhibitions. Although the Egyptian suffix hotep can mean peace, Nyarlathotep is not interested in it. Unlike so many of Lovecraft's other monsters and gods, he isn't asleep or chained or held captive in an alignment of the stars. Nyarlathotep roams freely on the earth in the form of a man. This makes him as a sort of devil-as-the-snake figure, forcing the apple of knowledge onto others. Scholars have attributed his multiple forms and mentions in Lovecraft's stories as masks or other identities that he uses to spread fear and cruelty. However, he is almost always portrayed in human form, with a greater knowledge of science and the universe than any mortal can grasp. Using this understanding to inspire fear and chaos in all those who come to see his displays, Nyarlathotep's main strength comes from his charismatic control of the masses and using their fear as a weapon against them. He delights in his cruelty.